Hey guys, we're shifting gears this week and going to be looking at something we haven't looked at in a while, and that is a Bandai Star Wars kit. This time we're going to be looking at their 1/72nd scale Xwing kit. Let's open her on up and take a look. So, right away, Bandai's packed a lot of detail into this thing. Fortunately, we haven't had a chance yet to look at the earlier fine molds X-Wing kits that came out probably close to a decade ago now. But if we use this as sort of our baseline, they're going to have a high standard up to. So on this sprue, we have a lot of the main fuselage components, including our two upper and lower halves, as well this back part, some of the upper spinal detail, one of the nose gear, landing gear doors, and a few other odd and end parts. Now, right away, one thing I immediately noticed is the panel lining. Now, for 72nd scale, it's just a little bit overscale, as in it's a little bit too big. Now, would I say it's enough of an issue to, say, fill everything and do it all over? No. But it is something to be aware of, as it's pretty obvious, even without, adding a panel liner to it. It just sticks out a lot and is really noticeable. Now, another issue I found is here on the instrument panel. Granted, this is 72nd scale, but with the amount of visibility you'll have with the cockpit area, even with the canopy closed, would have been nice had they made the cockpit instruments a little more detailed. You do get a decal or sticker to use to basically allow you to cheat and detail it some, but it would have been nice had they molded it in. Beyond that, though, I do think they've done a decent job of detailing. Only complaint also would be that they just had the torpedo launchers as just this open area. What you can do possibly, I'm not sure. That would look good, but it is something to be aware of. Next up, we've got a double sprue containing each roughly half the engines we need to build for this guy, as well as our cannons, the exhaust nozzles, the main gear, and a few other odds and ends parts. One nice thing, they do include additional doors, so if you want to do it as if it's in flight, you don't have to go splitting doors. Now, another thing I noticed here on the cannons is that they're molded closed. Now, you could try and drill them out, but ensuring you keep it straight is going to be a pill on this thing, and you're more likely just to snap it in half. So I would say your best bet, trim it off here at this half circle and just replace it with a bit of like either hypodermic needle, or if you can find tubing roughly this size with that, it'll look better and it'll add that just a little bit of extra detail without really having to go out of your way. Now, another thing I noticed as well is here on the exhaust nozzles. Now, they have got some very nice pedal detail around the outside. However, they don't continue it onto the inside. Now, I know Green Strawberry makes a set for this. I haven't looked at it in a while, and I'm not sure if it does include pedal detail for the inside, but that is something it would be nice had Bandai included, as it would have made it look better. Beyond that, though, not a lot else I've got to say. Overall, it's more than serviceable, especially in 72nd scale. All right, next up, we've got our wings. And much like a lot of the other kits, it's a two-piece assemblage, which you slide one end into the other. For this subject matter, it works. I really can't think of any other way that would be easy to do. So overall, I think that's smart on Bandai's part. Again, much the same as with the fuselage parts, same sort of level of panel lining as the rest of the kit. Would have been nice, again, if they had done it a little neater, a little finer, but oh well. Now, interesting, we get this flat little detail piece. Obviously, it's to give you a sense of scale, but for the life of me, I can't understand why they included it. It's just an oddball inclusion. Now, here we have our cockpit detail, which does, again, have minor detailing. It would have been nice to include a little more. Again, they accomplished it mainly through decal or sticker. Now, another thing, and I wish they'd given you some additional option, is for the astromech selection. They only give you an R5 unit. They don't give you an R2 or any other type of options. So that is a really big missed opportunity, especially if you wanted to detail it out yourself, or do a custom unit or what have you. Would have been nice had they given you options there. Beyond that, though, nothing really major jumps out. Much the same quality as the rest. Overall, very nice. Last up, as far as the Xwing itself is concerned, is the canopy piece. Overall, nothing really to write home about. It is nice that this is a separate part. Will mean you can just keep the clear parts from having to deal with masking. Now, another inclusion that I didn't realize this kit came with, I was under the assumption was only with a limited release, is this little diorama scene, obviously showing thermal exhaust port. I think it's a nice inclusion. Don't really need it, but if you want to set up a little dio, you can. So give me a second to get these back in, and then we'll take a look at the decals and the instruction. Now, as I mentioned before, you're given both a sticker set and a decal set. Now, I noticed right away the stickers are a much grayer, desaturated tone. I don't know if this is just I got a bad set, but that's something to be aware of, because you can even see right here, the gray is a much grayer tone, and this is more of a blue-gray, which is interesting. And it extends throughout the rest of the colors on all of these pieces as well. Again, you can see it pretty decently on the red. It's almost just really desaturated. So I would say use the decals for the majority of your items. However, some things, like some of these markings, as well as some of these panels, you can probably get away with masking it off and painting, ideally. Obviously, if you don't want to do it, you have them. They're there. It's a nice inclusion. Now, on to the instructions. So, with the instructions, we begin with building up the wings and the engines. Obviously, if you build aircraft kits, typically you start with the cockpit. This diverts from that. So we slowly build up the X-Wing from the back, moving forward, doing each of the wing halves section, the wings, forward, moving on to the fuselage, and then finally assembling it all together, and then deciding if you want to do it parked, in flight, or to use the little bit of a diorama. Bandai does do a pretty decent job of including paint key and marking key. However, they do include an R2 unit, and for the life of me, I could not find it on any of these part trees. So if I could be totally staring it in the face and not be seeing it, but they do include instructions for that. But again, I don't know. It could just be since this particular release, they've changed it from an earlier release. That's something I'm going to have to go back and check. But overall, no, I think it's a good, decent kit. I'm not sure if I would say it's the best. I do know the Fine Mold did a 72nd scale Xwing. I don't personally have it. I have their 48th scale. You know, perhaps someday in the future I might pick it up so we can do a true apples to apples comparison. I will eventually get to the 48th scale one, and we can sort of do a comparison, but for what it's worth, I do think it's a decent kick. I do think there's some areas it can improve on, some areas you can improve on yourself, but overall, I wouldn't say it's a bad kit. It's a good sort of mid-range kit. You know, it's not the best, it's not the worst. So that was a look at Bandai's 1/72nd scale Xwing. Not the best, not the worst. Definitely one I would still pick up again. So, until next time.